Hi, I'm Caroline Castro, and I am going to be a sophomore in the 3+1 accounting industry. Here is my presentation of a design element that I have been thinking of for actually ever since I started the professional play review. So I'll be focusing on Godspell and a design element that I have in mind. And after this presentation, I will also show you a 3D model that I decided to create. So here we go. So before we begin, obviously there are 4 basic staging formats. So we have the proscenium stage, the arena stage, the thrust stage, and the black box theater. And what's unique about all of this is that they're different in their own way. So for the proscenium stage, it's kind of like if you've ever been to like a normal theater, or I would say Broadway is usually a proscenium stage. Most of the shows are, I would think some orchestras are proscenium, or even school plays. I know that my high school is mainly a proscenium stage, but that stage specifically kind of lets you see the entire like stage as a whole from like a front point kind of thing. So it's more like you don't really have a side angle. It's more you're seeing everything right in front of you, which is usually what most productions do. Then there's the arena stage. So have you ever heard of like North Shore Theater, or Broadway does this too, where they did what was the show, Once on This Island, I think that they did a arena stage. So that's like you're seeing the stage in all angles, like every single angle. It's like a circle kind of. But the problem, obviously, the difficulties with arena is that it's hard for an actor to, because actors aren't usually supposed to turn their back to the audience, and it's really hard with an arena stage because it's kind of like whatever angle an actor goes, like they're pretty much turning their back to like one side of the audience, while the other side is like they're kind of facing them. So I just thought I would explain like the different stages. So then we have the thrust stage. This one I think works really well also with most shows. It's like you don't get to see the full, like every single angle, but you see at least half. So I think this stage works really well. Then we have the black box theater. I know that when I made a presentation for the Wolves, the black box theater worked perfectly for that show, and it works perfectly for other gigs or other small shows like that. But obviously for this specific show that I'm going to get more into, the black box theater I don't think would work that well. I mean, I think directors can go more into it, and I think it could potentially work, but for this design element, I don't think so. So, without further ado, the stage that I am hoping to create with this production is the thrust stage. So I think this would be the best fit with this particular production, because I think with each actor on stage will be able to connect to each audience member a lot more easily than a proscenium stage, an arena, and certainly a black box theater. So I definitely think that we can play around with this type of stage, and yeah, I definitely think that the audience, both the audience and the actors, will be able to connect more. So I definitely think for this design element, we're going to do and focus on the thrust stage. So before we get more into like the design element as a whole, I think that we should definitely talk about the time period. So the play was around since the 1970s, where it was first produced. And they're popular styles, so obviously people were wearing bright colors, jeans, bell-bottom pants, tie-dye. I mean, there's so much more like in the 1970s, 1980s, kind of like hip-hop kind of, but it's like that's kind of like more the time period, kind of punk, not like punk, but like rock punk kind of, if you know what I mean. So yeah, Godspell time period, I would say it's more colorful, but it's also like kind of in the oldies. I mean, if you've listened to rock or something like that, it kind of reminds me of Godspell, because Godspell is a little, the music is kind of rock style, but it's not really. It's not like upbeat, but it's like a nice like ballad. So yeah, I definitely think Godspell was, I mean, it's definitely older than most of the shows that I've done. I remember doing this show ever since, oh my god, it was like, I want to say back in 7th grade, I performed this show. And honestly, at that time, I did not know the time period, but all I knew was at that time it was bright colors and just everything like that. So we're going to move on to types of clothing. So obviously, for this production's definitely bright colors, as you can see over here, a lot of neon. And this is actually an example of Godspell. And look how bright the colors are, which I love how it just pops out, because I definitely think that this production is just like that. And right here as well, I know that this isn't Godspell, but I'm thinking that for each character, when they're on stage, they have a certain color. So one of the characters, let's say, learn your lessons well. The girl who's singing learn your lessons well would maybe have like a yellow. Maybe she would be dressed yellow, like all yellow. Then we have maybe the girl who's singing Day by Day. Maybe she would wear red, or like a pattern type of red. And there's so much more that these characters can wear, and I think that'll definitely stand out. Definitely in this production, because this production I think is all about the colors. Like, there may not be such like a big set, but I definitely think that it all kind of depends on what the actors are wearing, and I definitely think that when it comes to like a certain color scheme, it all fits in perfectly. So now we have the geographical setting. So it was originated from New York. And the good thing about this production is that it can be performed in multiple locations. Like, I've seen people perform it in just like a community theater. I've seen people perform it like the songs on a beach, or in New York, like in the city. So that's what's really cool about this production, is that sometimes you don't even need a stage for it. Sometimes you can just even do it in your backyard, or do it in an outdoor theater, and it would be the exact same production, or maybe even better. So I do like what's good about this production is that, yeah, it originated from New York, but it's kind of the director's standpoint to like make it their own. It's all about like what the director thinks would work best, or if it's, say, we'd be doing this at Quinnipiac, like if it's in a black box theater, like it's all about what the director wants to do to make that show successful. So I definitely think this is something to look more into. So when we first look at the play, all the set pieces are on stage, which is normally sometimes what happens in a regular show or theater. I mean, I've been doing it for years as just a side type of thing. So definitely, I performed at Greater Boston, so I kind of know, like, once you look at, like, before the show, once you look at a stage, all the set pieces are pretty much there. Sometimes it's not, sometimes it's more moving, but for this particular production, all the set pieces are pretty much there. So this can include, I will show you in the 3D model that I made, a gray small step platform, a huge set with stairs, blocks, and many more. So it will be bright and colorful, the set. It may not look it in the 3D model, but I will explain that even more. It's just a rough sketch of what the show, in my vision, would look like. But yeah, this is actually the example of the show in the background, if you can see. So yeah, like, the actors are wearing bright colors, and the background is, I mean, it's not like bright, but sometimes it's all about what the actors are wearing to make the set look spectacular. So, entrance points. So what's awesome about a thrust stage is that there are multiple entrance points. It's not like a proscenium where you kind of just have stage left and stage right. With the thrust, you can have the audience, you can have stage left, stage right, you can have like upstage. So that's what I love about this particular production. So like right here, I'm thinking for this specific show in the very, very beginning, I'm thinking the actors can like come out from the audience, which would be very nice or very cool, like during the opening moment. And then also for during some of the songs, people can enter from stage left, stage right, but also from the audience, or maybe even come out more here, which I would think would be very beneficial for this show. It all kind of depends on how many people are casted in the show, because if it's just going to be like Jesus, Judas, and then the ensemble who just sings like particular songs, like that's kind of like a small cast, so there wouldn't be a lot of entrance points. But if you want a bigger ensemble, which 100% works, then you can use all these entrances to make sure that everyone has enough space around them and it doesn't get too crowded when entering or exiting, which can definitely be a problem. Okay, so for the set pieces, I know you're looking at a construction site right now. Don't even mind it. But this is kind of the stairs, kind of, except it goes off to the side a little bit. Like this set goes off to the side. But this is kind of what the platform sort of thing looks like. So I was watching multiple productions and it just gave me this idea of I kind of want something like this. And the production I was in a while back gave me that similar idea as well. So think of this right here as like that's the platform at the very top. And that can be where Jesus is singing half the time, or maybe an apostle will go up there. I mean, it all depends on the song and if the person is obviously comfortable being up there while singing, because sometimes that can be a big height difference. And then these are stairs. I definitely think it'll be interesting for the ensemble to sing on the stairs, or even when acting. I think it's just a good standpoint to have for an audience as well, because then it's like they're not on all in one level. You have multiple levels that you can play with, which I find really, really interesting. And same here. So obviously I know I used a construction site for an example, but that was the best example for me that kind of showcased what I'm going to show you in a bit. And this right here, like this would stay placed in the entire show. Like this is something that cannot move at all. And what's really interesting is what I'll show you at the finale when Jesus dies. There is a specific place that will work perfectly along this set right here for that. So we have the set pieces. So along with that big set piece, there's also a bunch of like colorful blocks that I want to coordinate. Although in the design model it's white, I was thinking of doing colors based on what each character is wearing for their solo. So let's say we'll use Day by Day. The girl who's singing Day by Day, say that they're wearing red. They would maybe stand on like a red block, or maybe that block would be theirs when sitting and listening to what Jesus is saying or what other characters are saying. They would have their own special block and it'd be a different color, and I think would also pop out in the stage even more, so then the stage doesn't look dull. And it's also like because there isn't so much color to it already, I think these blocks would be a perfect addition to the show. And also Godspell, because it was produced in the 1970s, obviously at that time everything was colorful. I mean, everything was, yeah. So I definitely think that these colors will coordinate really well with that. And it'll also help tell the story more to the audience and to the other castmates. So the color scheme, definitely I'm looking for the set to have like every single color. I think what we need is, I don't want to go too much with the colors, but I definitely don't want it to be so dull like I was saying. And I would just think that with all these colors, and I know this isn't really Godspell. Well, I think this is a younger version of it. But look at like all the colors that these young boys and girls are wearing. I mean, that kind of just stands out to me personally, and that kind of makes the show the way it is. And it kind of brings some unity. Like with people wearing like different colors and different things. It's kind of creating like a good sense of like community. And I definitely think the audience can really learn from that. So I definitely think for the color scheme, that is that. So right here, this is the ending of the play. This is an example. Obviously, this is when Jesus dies. Um, but this isn't the exact production that I am hoping to do. But this lighting right here, like how dark it is, that's probably going to be what it is at the end of the show if I was to design it. What's interesting is that obviously the major set pieces are not going to change, but the colorful blocks probably won't be there during this time. Or if they are, they will be lighted a certain way so they aren't that bright, or they would be in specific places where they wouldn't be in the way. Because I think now it's more, yes, the fun and everything in the first act, that was all fun. But the second act becomes more serious. So I think during the middle of the second act, we can start getting away, or leaving some of the blocks backstage, or to different areas, so it isn't in the way for this. Because this moment right here, it's emotional, and I think it would also be a distraction if the blocks were in a random place in the audience. So, and then here's some pictures of other schools or theaters that did Godspell. But look how, except for this picture, this was in the end, but look how colorful everything is. I mean, I definitely think that this show is all about colors. And I definitely think that this show, without the actors wearing colorful costumes, or with the set being the way it is, I mean, this production wouldn't really work. So I definitely think, and although, see, over here, they didn't have that big of a set piece. You don't really need that big of a set piece for this production. But I am going to show you a design model that I created. And let's see. Okay. So, this is a design model that I'm thinking about. So, as you can see, this right here, I think this is a really cool design element. Although it is part of the stage, but it's also it kind of makes it more theatrical, which I love. This right here, I did not explain this in my slideshow, but I thought I would explain it here. So this right here, I would think it's more of a screen. This is what this reminds me of. And what I want to use that for this production is for each song. I kind of wanted to say, for your Learn Your Lessons Well, for example, I wanted to say Learn Your Lessons Well. And maybe, depending on the aspect of it, maybe it does the lyrics while the person's singing, so people in the audience can sing along. Or maybe it can have pictures, during each parable, or what Jesus is saying, that will make the audience understand, or help them understand if they're struggling. So I definitely think that this right here, and I love how it's red too, because I definitely think that it gives it the Godspell look. So I definitely like this. This was the platform that I was talking about. It kind of reminded me of the construction site a little bit. I mean, these stairs, they were kind of different. But overall, I mean, I love how, let's picture this man right here being Jesus. I love how he could just be up there. Everyone else can be up here listening, hear the blocks. They're white right now, but they can be multiple colors, anything that the director wants, or, I mean, this can work either way. This right here is the gray platform that I was talking about. Kind of gives it a little step, and it's just more for decoration type thing, which I love. And this platform right here, I love the way it looks just like that. But as I mentioned earlier, when Jesus dies at the end, I'm thinking that the cross can be here. And I think right there, that'd be perfect. And the spotlight can be on him as he's dying, and we can have all the cast members surround him here. The blocks can be away for that moment. These are speakers right here. But these can be moved anywhere. So it just depends on where this production is being placed, or where it's being performed specifically, which theater. That maybe I'm thinking the speakers can be up here, they could be hanging, they can even be on the floor in front of here. And I also think in front of the stage there will be stairs to lead on and off, as well as the stairs over here too, or back stairs. because I definitely think we need some entrance and exit points here. And also, I'm thinking of doing, they did this at my theater that I performed at for years. And they had stairs right here, and then they also had stairs in the side that would lead to one wing. But then there would be like a backstage on this end. On this end, it's a kind of diagonal that they can go to, which I absolutely love. So it gives them like 1, 2, and then 3, 4 different exit points. And also we can use the aisles too, because I think the aisles are also the most important part within this production. So yeah, I definitely think that this design element will hopefully work in the future, and I hope that um, you take this into consideration, and I hope that this design element and this design that I talked about will give you a new perspective when it comes to theater and in future like events. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your week.